when you started to live again. The day you died. It was a normal day. We were doing homework, sitting there, and the next thing I know, you're on the floor, shaking, shaking, shaking. That night, you died. And all you could remember as your life vanished in an instant was waking up in a hospital, surrounded by doctors. And they're telling you, just 2 more years, Mr. Calpin. Just 2 more. They found a brain tumor. They told you would start to have seizures. They took your license. They took your job. And whenever you'd see a new person and have to explain why you couldn't concentrate, you just look down, put your hands in your pockets, and tell them quietly, I'm disabled. I can't do anything. The things that we take for granted, talking to new friends, going new places, will leave you frustrated, tired. Names, dates, details would leave you exhausted. There was no more hope for a normal life, and in your weaker moments, you would say that you were useless. But then, 2 years came and went, and death never came for you. You started to look around. You decided it was time to stop dying in your bedroom. It was time to get out and not let life's most crushing defeat kill you. You decided, after 2 years of waiting, to live again. So what did you do? You returned to the one thing you knew the most, martial arts. You were a warrior. You weren't just Mr. Calpin. You were Tiger Calpin, a fighter to the core. And as you returned to your training day after day, you found peace that buckets and buckets and buckets of pills just would never give you. I started to see you smile. I started to see you laugh again. And every day after school, I could find you in the basement of our house. But you didn't like it being called the basement. You called it the dojo. The dojo! That place where you get beat up, thrown down, and sweat. And grow. For all the things you couldn't remember, your muscles remembered their training. And that brought you so much joy. As I started to watch you train and train, I wanted to start to train. I wanted to be Little Joe, the warrior. And by the time I was 12, I was finally big enough, strong enough to be your student. You called me Grasshopper. And you'd have a kung fu voice. Ah, so Grasshopper, you think you're good enough to be my student? Kung fu movies were our common bond. I would take my stance and hear his voice. Take your stance. Focus. Tuck your chin. Go. Good? You are not my son! No! Sensei says, do it again! Take my stance, tuck my chin, focus. Ho, ho, ho. Better? But in that instant, you were gone. And then you came right back and sat down. Just thinking about something. Keep going. I never knew that day after day you were having tiny seizures where you would disappear, forget where you were, have trouble holding on to the conversation. But you would try to act like you were still sensei, still big, still strong, because you loved your grasshopper. And by the time I was in high school, that training started to break away the depression, started to break away all traces of the disease, broke away the wall that was between you and me. Sensei and Grasshopper seemed so much better than just father and son. We would train and we would start to talk. I could tell you anything. Dad, my girlfriend broke up with me again. And you had this phrase whenever life seemed down. Cry in the dojo, laugh on the battlefield. I thought it was the weirdest sensei sentence I had ever heard. You always wanted to tell me, when life is crushing you down, remember, there's a day when that training will make you strong again. And so, every life problem, Dad, I'm failing Spanish, I want to quit! I'm not smart enough for Spanish. Cry in the dojo, Grasshopper. Laugh on the battlefield. And now I can speak Chinese. I laugh now, except I still cry when speaking Chinese. I never thought about, though, how that sentence wasn't just for me. How you would say that sentence to yourself, day after day, seizure after seizure. Keep going. Cry in the dojo. Laugh on the battlefield. Be there for my child. Be there for Grasshopper. But then one day, there came a time where you couldn't stand, where even holding a fist became too hard. Conversations were gone. And we had to make a choice. We had to put you somewhere where you'd get better care. And I started to stand alone in our dojo, that sacred place with punching bags and equipment where I cried and got thrown around. I was alone. But as I stared at the walls, I started to hear your voice. Take your stance. Tuck your chin. Focus. Cry in the dojo. Laugh on the battlefield. And though you're gone, I know that I'll grow. And all those hard experiences will make me stronger and stronger and stronger, so that one day I can laugh. One day I can be strong. So I tell you now, I love you, and I will always be your Grasshopper. Toastmaster Evening.